I interrupt Transposition Sports because I'm cute, and I can't. And for this message from the angry gay grandpa. You don't pay me enough for this, Karleigh.
So maybe I'll start a little bit softer. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine.
Dad?
Before you say anything, I just want to apologize for what I said this morning. I've been doing a lot of thinking. If you want to change your name, if you want to wear a dress.
It's a skirt, Dad.
Skirt. I don't know the kind of support you need, but let's get you some for all this transgender stuff.
Wait. Are you serious? Dad, what is this?
Oh, this is me supporting you. This is me saying I love you. This is me not losing you.
Love you, Dad.
Love you. Holly.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Trans athletes didn't just come out of nowhere. We've been here.
Welcome back to Transposition Sports. I'm Karleigh Webb, and it has been a rough year to be a trans person on this planet. Parent groups being funded by anti-trans actors with big pockets and big bigotry coming after a community of less than 0.5% of people globally, 0.5% of people here in the United States. But there have been some bright spots. Nikki Hiltz, bright spot. A.B. Hernandez, bright spot. And the person who I believe is the coolest person in sport, you just saw a montage of what they do and how they do it. And I believe that they are one of the coolest people in sports. And they're joining us here right now. Cal Calamia, welcome to Transposition Sports. It's good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm very excited to be here, and it always makes my day to just get to catch up with you and talk all things trans people in sports. So thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, and we're going to start right up front with something that most people don't know, but we're going to announce it right here, right now. Cal Calamia, 2025 Outsports Non-Binary Athlete of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's truly such an honor and a great way to close out my year. So thank you for recognizing.
Well, right up front, you did a race called Javelina 100K.
Sure did.
But you just didn't do that race to do it. You did it for a reason. You did it for Too Hot for Hoodies. Now, that has been your labor of love for almost, I believe, 3 years now. Where
Hmm.
you put together to get gender affirming clothes into the hands of people who need it. How did that get started? Because you did a great thing. 1 kilometer for somebody who needs something, make sure somebody gets some clothes they need. Take me through that race, and then talk about what made you start this to begin with, and how it's grown since.
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely. Yeah, Javelina 100K was a fantastic race, and I had this beautiful opportunity to tie it in with my nonprofit, Too Hot for Hoodies. I've been doing it since the pandemic. My grandmother actually gave me a small donation of, $50 or something and told me to go donate it, to pass it on and put it toward a cause that meant something to me. So I decided that there must be people out there that need chest binders. It's something that I had previously needed before my medical transition. Um, so I sort of put a call out on social media and said, "Who needs this?" And a ton of people were like, "I need one." And I was like, "Oh, whoa!" I had no clue that so many people were looking for chest binders. Maybe we can make this into something bigger, where we can, create a big operation where we're bringing in donations and we're bringing in money so that I can push back out these gender affirming resources that are life saving. Um, yeah, we started with that, and then it has expanded over the years to also include tucking gaps. So now we're able to provide resources for trans femme and trans masc folks and non-binary folks, sort of with different body types. And we've done things in our backyard, right? Shipped things out to just California, but we've also shipped things as far out as like Sri Lanka. So we are getting tangible items in the hands of uh, trans people and non-binary people and gender expansive people that need them. So it gave me a really strong sense of purpose to run those 100 kilometers for the 100 people that we were able to support in our most recent giveaway.
When you do your activism, you tie it into your sport.
Absolutely.
You tie it into your sport. How do you answer the people who say, "Just shut up and run"?
you know it's interesting because I've had this conversation before where someone has pointed to me and said, "You're making this political." And my response to that is, I'm not making this political. I have no choice but to participate in the politics of this conversation by virtue of my identity. And so for me, I don't get to just show up and run. That's never been a choice that I've had, since I realized, my gender and started coming to terms with it. And it's not up to me. If maybe there's a world where I could just show up and run, but that world doesn't exist right now.
As a transgender person who is an athlete, 2025 has been blank.
The first word that came to my mind was devastating. I think witnessing what felt like progress toward inclusion and sort of like seeing that be pulled out from underneath us, I think devastation is the first word. I think there's more. I think there's also been a lot of beauty and resilience that has sort of, grown up through these cracks and continued to sprout regardless. But it has been supremely devastating and disappointing to see not only what's happening in the government and politically, but also how different brands and different coaches and different athletes have shown up in the face of the conflict that we're dealing with as trans athletes. Um, and also the ways that those people have really not shown up and have sort of used the administration as an excuse to stop doing the work of trying to make the sport more inclusive, trying to make sport more inclusive in general.
How have you been able to keep it together? Cal, if there's one thing I've known about your history is you've had to fight through a lot just in the last. It's been a constant fight for you. There was a fight
Mhm.
3 years. There was a fight a couple years back just for you to have an opportunity to run, and you
Mhm.
pushed through that. And all the other questions that have come out, the controversy over the New York Marathon,
Mhm.
a year more than a year ago. But you
Mhm.
keep plugging forward. But
Mhm.
this year's been harder. What has kept you from punching a wall out in your apartment? What's kept you from just like, because what has kept you keeping on?
Mm, my community and the empathy and compassion that other trans and non-binary people inspire in me, um, and my understanding of myself as simply a part of something so much bigger. I think about trans folks that have been doing this kind of work for longer. I think about young genderqueer folks that are scared and their parents that are scared. And I think about what it would look like and feel like for me to quit, when people are looking to me to see that there is hope. That I've committed myself to being myself and making a better world for all of us to be ourselves, and I'm not going to quit. And I know how badly some of these people and some of these systems want me to quit, and that's also exactly why I will not do it.
What have you heard from, especially young people who follow you, young people you've talked to, young trans people especially who are athletes? What have
Mhm.
they told you about, at one level, about the work you're doing, and also how difficult it's been for them?
Yeah, I think like one of the main things that young people are struggling with is just logistically, like, how do I do this? Why is this so complicated? And, the opportunity to join a sports team, or play a sport as a young person should be as simple as saying, I want to. That's how it's supposed to be. So it's breaks my heart to know that there are so many young people that are just trying to show up and do these things that they love to do, that they're interested in, trying to do the same kinds of things that their teammates and their classmates get to do, but they have to go through so much more. And so I've heard a lot about that, and I've also heard from young gender expansive folks that they feel that there is a place for them, or they feel that there will be a place for them because of the work that myself and other trans athlete activists are doing right now. So that's enough to keep me going. And also I recently gave a speech at a high school, and a parent came up to me and said, my kid is trans and is a runner, and I can't thank you enough for what you're doing, because until right now, I didn't see that there was a pathway for my kid to continue to do this thing that they're doing and to really be happy. And you just living and doing that is providing a different alternative possibility that I previously couldn't imagine. So I think that that's why visibility and representation at large are so important, because on the converse of that, that's why there's so much erasure as well, because we know that visibility and representation create more opportunities, they create more community, they create more resilience in trans folks. And that's where this erasure plays a role, to try to withdraw or withhold those exact things that I just mentioned, as a way to sort of get rid of this community, which is, as we know, not going anywhere.
But at the same time, gut reaction to what you have been seeing, to not ease, force this community out of sports,
Mhm,
and in a sense, force this community out of life. And I want to begin right up front with the first shot fired, which
mhm,
is February 6th.
mhm,
You were a collegiate athlete. You were a competitive NCAA athlete.
mhm.
Gut reaction to finding out one day after the executive order, college sports will be closed off to a group of transgender people who want to be student athletes.
cowardly. I think so many people right now are cowardly in the face of this administration. I think trans people have no choice but to continue to show up and continue to fight for ourselves and our rights. And we have these massive organizations like the NCAA, right? You know, just to name an example, but there are many more that are capitulating, like that are saying, I don't want to lose anything for myself, so we're fine to throw trans people under the bus in order to cover ourselves, So I think that is what I mean when I'm talking about that devastation. It's this supreme disappointment that when given a pass to stop caring, that a lot of people have taken it.
How much does the upcoming Supreme Court hearings regarding West Virginia versus VPJ, Little versus the Idaho case, how much do those concern you?
Oh, supremely. I mean, I have friends that work in law that are, dealing with these cases really closely, um, and what is scary is the way that our government is willing to reinterpret law to make it, serve their purposes. And we have to understand that this is not just a conversation about trans athletes. This is a really big threat to democracy to have, laws be interpreted out of context in order to serve a particular political motive. Like, it's quite dangerous, and I am concerned about what it could mean for not just trans athletes, but for all of us. I think that when a society moves in this direction and begins targeting, like you've mentioned, right, one of the smallest, most vulnerable populations in the country, it's just a test to see how much, people can get away with, and if anyone really cares if trans people are thrown under the bus. And right now, I think we're kind of failing the test. So I'm hoping that through conversations like the one we're having right now, more people can open their eyes to understand that we are all playing a role every day in the shape of our society.
Complete the sentence. XXXY athletics is blank.
It's just not true. There's just no. It's not XXXY anything is not true. Like, it's a biological fact that it's not true.
There are some activists saying, no, we don't want these trans messing up our sports.
Right. Well, it's insane. It's insane. Like, it's so funny because it's just we're so far from even like factual information at this point, and we're letting like untrue things like govern huge decisions and the livelihood of a lot of people, and that's just embarrassing. We have access to more information than we've ever had access to. Why wouldn't we use it? Right? I mean, there's a huge conversation here about education and even the overlay of the who voted for Trump or who is anti-trans against education levels, right? Like, I think the fact of the matter is the more that you know, and I'm not just talking about the more that you read in a book, I'm talking about the more that you shake hands with different people that are different from you, the more compassionate you are going to be, and the better you will be as a participant of your society and the world that you live in.
One thing, you've gotten to see that world.
Yeah.
And you've gotten to change that world.
Mm-hmm.
First, talking about you getting to see it. 6-star marathon career, you capped it off.
Mm-hmm.
And what did it mean for you to do that? Tokyo this year, London this year. What did it mean for you to wear that special medal? Hi, Kirby. To wear that medal.
I feel so grateful, and honestly, it was perfect timing because as we're engaging in this conversation about our country and what's happening and all of the madness and all of the pain and all of the harm, I said, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go see what's going on in Tokyo. And in Tokyo, you know, yeah, things are different there in terms of, you know, queer representation, queer justice, but there's a hope, there's a newfound visibility for trans folks. There's a new non-binary division in the Tokyo Marathon still, right? And people are excited about it. It's a positive change that people are excited about. I'm sure some people are upset about it, but
Why would people be upset about that? Why? No,
it's
give
a
me
great
the idea.
question.
Why would people be upset? Because I've heard people say, "Why do you need a non-binary division?" First, what I mean, how do you handle that? Because you, Jake Fedorowski, a lot of other people have been fighting for this,
Right,
and a lot of races are getting hip, which is good.
right.
But how do you deal with the pushback?
You know, I for the longest time I was making this argument. I kept saying, we're not taking away anything from anyone, right? We're just showing up and doing what you're doing, and it's not going to change your experience at all. You're honestly not even going to notice. But then I was on a podcast a while back after the New York City Marathon win, and I said that, and the person who was interviewing me stopped me and said, "Can I actually stop you right there and say, you're adding something. You don't need to come up to this space and say, you know, we're not taking anything away. You are adding something." Like the
Hmm.
experience of having non-binary folks, non-binary athletes, and non-binary community at these marathons or at these road races or at these trail races is additive. It's not, it's just better. It's better to have more people that are excited to be in a space. Um, and it's better to have compassionate people that understand difference and understand what it means to stand at that finish chute and cheer on every single runner, right? Like it's better to have us there. Like, and I no longer say, we're not going to do anything, because I'm like, no, we are going to do something. We're going to enhance the experience. We're going to make it a more loving environment and a more competitive environment and a more exciting environment just by being there.
Now, how do you at the same time make sure that they don't all of a sudden take that division and say, we're going to shove all you trans into that?
Absolutely. It's a
Because
great
how
question.
do you safeguard against that? How do you educate people to say, no, we have this and this is necessary, but for example, Karleigh Webb signs up for a race.
Yes.
She is a woman. She
Yes.
should be allowed to compete as
Duh.
such.
Period.
How do you get that point across to that race director,
Yeah.
to that head of competition, to that clerk of the course?
Yeah. This is this is not a division for other. This is an option for people that identify with it. This is not the solution to trans athletes in sports. This is a necessary space for people that are non-binary. And I know trans femmes and I know trans masks that participate in men's divisions, women's divisions. Everyone needs to be able to participate in the division that actually works for them, that
Mhm.
actually feels aligned for them. This is not at all a place for all trans people to be siphoned off and kept out of competition, from with their cisgender counterparts. Like, no, and I've heard that because I've heard people, not often, but I've heard people say, "Oh, yeah, see, I've been saying this. We just need a non-binary division, and then this will resolve all the problems." I said, "Well, this will resolve one problem. It will resolve the problem of non-binary people not having a place to compete, but it doesn't. There's trans people in sports. That's not a problem. So there's no resolution to trans people in sports. There are simply objective truths about human variance that are going to require that we have more than two binary divisions for competitions."
How do you feel about the open category issue, debate, whatever you want to call it? How do you feel about that?
No, no. Why do some people get to have categories that represent their identities and their experiences, and other people have to just be like in this big open or other or whatever category. That just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And I don't. I also really have a problem with open categories that, Iron Man is doing it right now. They have an open category, but it's non-competitive. You can't win anything, right? And that's what they've tried to do with the non-binary division, right? Is be like, sure, you can
Right.
sign up under this, but you can't get anything, and that is not fair. And what people don't understand is that that's not only not fair, but it's actually potentially causing more harm than good, because you're saying, sure, this exists, but it exists on a lesser plane, right? And that delegitimizes the identities, experiences, athletic abilities of anyone competing in that non-binary or open division. If it becomes delegitimized by the race or by the organization, it runs the risk of delegitimizing the entire community that participates in that division.
Well, I've always been of the belief that if you're going to allow me to compete, you should at least let me have the opportunity to win the prizes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for example, I want your opinion on this because you live in California.
Yep.
What was your thought on the CIF compromise?
Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. So basically saying, right, like we have a trans femme student that's won, and we're gonna, yes, let her have first place, but also let the second place person also have first place. Um, you know, I think it's I think it goes back to what I was saying. I think that there are a lot of people that are just scared to receive pushback, and so they're trying to sort of appease both sides, right? But there's a winner's a winner. The winner won.
I hate
And
it. I'll just put it
exactly.
out there. I
Yeah,
hated it.
exactly. How are you
My
saying
my
that you can win, but you can't be the only winner, right? I mean, how
or
is that fair?
or on the other side, let's say, for example, no, let's just put the name out there. AB
Right,
Hernandez. This was the AB Hernandez rule. That's what I'm calling it. Yeah, I know
right.
Sid Ziegler doesn't like me calling it, but that's what I'm calling it. It's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
AB Hernandez rule. And the idea is, if she wins, the second place cis person also wins. But if a
right,
cis person wins and she finishes second,
right.
then she has to share that silver medal with someone else.
Exactly.
It's to me, and or since she made state, oh, we have one more for every trans girl that makes state, we have to also add in that event or whatever one cis girl,
Right.
the additional cis girl that got quote unquote left out.
Like, it's getting a little too messy. Like, let's just a few things. Number one, um, when you treat someone differently because of something about who they inherently are, it's called discrimination. Like, it's very simple. So let's just start with that. Why don't we care about that anymore? That's fine now. That's number one. And number two, even in the face of this decision, which, right, we thought, wow, this is ridiculous, you still had parents, grown adults, with signs, get men out of women's sports and whatever, right, at this competition, bullying this child. Like, are people okay? Like,
Exactly.
what? What's going on? It's so concerning. It's so concerning. Like just how much horrific behavior we will excuse for transphobes, and how there is no wiggle room, no room for compromise for trans people.
Interesting you say that as well because look at how much sports is going to change. Sex testing's returned.
Right.
I'm just wondering, as a person who's been scrutinized,
Right.
who went through this,
Yeah.
just to run this out, what's your thoughts on the fact that we've set the clock, we've gone back 30 to 60 years for sex testing?
If I were competing and required to participate in this in any way, I would not do it. And I think it raises a huge question of what it looks like to be a professional athlete, and also to be an ally for trans athletes and with trans athletes at this time. Many people are not doing, like, deep advocacy and activism work, and also trying to compete at the highest level. Like it's quite challenging to spread yourself across, those two areas, at one time. And I mean, I think it goes back to what I said earlier, right? Like I just don't think this is logical at all. I don't understand why. Like it feels embarrassing from a purely informational standpoint that we're making a decision like this. And I also think that it feels very similar to what was asked of me with the US Anti-Doping Administration when they were, asking me to provide all my medical and mental health records, and I said no, because at a certain point we have to we have to take a stand for what we're okay participating in and what we're not okay participating in. And I would have liked to see some more people say, you know what, you're not testing me because I am going to take a position of solidarity with other trans, intersex, etc. folks, and I'm not I'm not gonna let you have that information about me. So that I'm not putting myself, so that the only those people that are going to be most impacted by this sex testing aren't out on the line by themselves.
Well, one thing we do know is that you what keeps you opening your mouth? Because I mean, you have been willing to put them on the line.
Y'all want to know what Olympic events I'm watching? I'm just watching the disaster of transphobia, and misogyny, and racism unfold. While I'm so proud of the handful of trans and non-binary athletes that are at the Olympics, there is not a single transgender athlete that's participating on a gender-aligned team, perpetuating a mutual exclusivity between medically transitioning and being an Olympic athlete.
Right there.
Did say that, huh?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
That was right, and that was during the Amani Khalif mess.
Yep. That was a mess. Jeez.
And that mess looks like it's going to happen again.
It's just so like it's just so exhausting. I mean, it's so stupid. Like I really genuinely believe that. I really genuinely believe that this is a desperate attempt to harness and maintain power. This is just like really what is so threatening about trans people is that we refuse to participate in a system that confines pretty much everyone and thereby maintains power in the hands of a few select individuals. Like look at our government, right? There's a huge overlap between whiteness, wealth, political power, like all of those in technology, all of those things are like hanging out with each other. And transness says, I won't be confined by the system. And that is why it freaks those people out so much. Because they're like, if we can't even tell what gender this person is, how are we supposed to control them? So they're trying to send a message that we can't escape the control of this political system. But when you ask what keeps you opening your mouth, I disagree. I think I can escape the control of this political system, and I think we can do it together. I think we have that power, but we have to continue to put our voices and our ideas out there so that we can find each other, so that we can collaborate, so that we can elevate the messages and the ideas that we have, so that we can push back against this. Because this is really it's power in the sense that it's the way our government runs, but it's not actual power. Like I believe that power comes from love, connection, compassion, authenticity, challenge, growth, all these other places that these people that have power in our government don't have any of those things. So I think we are quite empowered in a lot of ways, but we have to find ways to feel it and believe it and to take it back. And I think speaking vulnerably and connecting with each other is how we can do that.
One thing, you showed your power at Trans Rockies by winning it.
Yes.
But not only winning it, to you, why is it important that you not only compete, that you give us a window into it? Because you put yourself out there on social media, you put yourself out there on Instagram. Don't get me wrong, love you for it, and you see us. But how important is it not only to go out there and compete, but also win, like you did at Trans Rockies, which you won the overall title, by the way.
It was sick.
But to let people, but to also let community see it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I didn't see it. I didn't see anything. And it wasn't until I saw other trans people that I realized that I was trans, because I just thought something was wrong with me that I couldn't figure out. But I once I saw that there were trans people in the world living happily and doing their thing, I realized that that was me. And I want other people to have that opportunity to see themselves and to see what's possible for themselves. And I want people, cis people and allies and even non-allies to be forced to confront the fact that trans people can do amazing things, and we already are doing amazing things.
Coming into the home stretch, first, you had this big year in 2025. What's in line for Cal Calamia in 2026?
Well, a lot, as always. I sort of view my work in these different pillars of like performance. Like, what do I want to do and what do I want to achieve? I want to run a marathon in the 2:30s. Sorry, let me turn that off. I want to run a marathon in the 2:30s. So that's really sorry. I have my phone on or I have my computer on do not disturb, but it's just not really working. I have someone who can break through it.
So you want to run? So you want to run 2:30 marathon? That's hauling.
Yes.
I mean, I'd be happy if I ran a 4:30 marathon.
Well, maybe that should be your goal. Hey, if you want to run a marathon, I'll pace you. So,
you know what? I've done 2.
Okay.
I've done 2, but my goal is to at least get to that 4:30. I'm still an hour away.
Okay.
I still need to find 60 minutes, but if you want to put together a run program for me, I'll do that. I'll get on that.
We should absolutely talk about that. I would love to.
I would get on that. I mean,
okay, once
I get past that football season, we can really get on
right. To it. Right now, you got to play, but when you're done,
or train for 2 sports, better yet. But that's one plan. But in 2026, what are what's the biggest sporting goal? And what's the biggest goal in regards to activism?
Yeah, and in regards to activism, I'm targeting the trail run space right now. I want to be having some conversations this year with Ultra Sign Up and Western States Endurance Run, and really start pushing the envelope into how to actually create an inclusive environment for non-binary athletes within the trail space. So that's you're right. We did all the world marathon majors, now have the division, including Sydney. So that's another big one. I'm going to go run Sydney in August because I have to maintain my streak as, the first person to have podiumed in all of the world marathon majors. When you add another major, I got to go. So I'll be doing that. And then, I think from an activism standpoint, just pushing for equity in the trail space is number one priority for me. And then just from a community standpoint, I want to get my run club out to some more big events and relays and, a few things I can't quite announce yet, but some big, large scale community efforts that are going to involve a lot of trans and non-binary athletes are going to be coming out. And I'm very excited about that. And then I've been writing a lot more. So I've been, really trying to hunker in and just write. So I hope that my forthcoming poetry book will be picked up for publication sometime this year and be out on the market soon too. So lots of big and exciting things.
You did pace a pretty big name through his first marathon. Skylar Bylar and you, London.
Absolutely.
First off, think Skylar could break in there and do some damage in a marathon? I mean,
yeah,
he's in shape.
Skylar's very fit, and Skylar is very smart and very very disciplined, and I think that I'm I'm always impressed by what he's able to do in sport. And, he's been retired from swimming officially, for a while now. But, you know, to see him break into the running space has been really awesome and really meaningful to me, because now every time this dude is in town, he's like, let's go for a run. And yeah, I think that that's a relationship that is just really, really important to me, in this work, to have someone I know that is sort of doing something similar, and someone I admire and trust and love, and can also just like enjoy movement with. Skylar is super, super important to me. One of my best friends.
Now, who else among trans people in the sports space do you look to? I mean,
Mm,
obviously Skylar's one, but who are some others that when you need a boost, you look at what they're doing?
it's a really good question. Wow, there's so many different people. Obviously, like Nikki Hiltz, like stays winning, which is awesome. There's some other athletes in the non-binary marathon space, like previously, especially in the activism work, like Jake Fedorowski was someone that did a lot of like laying the groundwork. So that's been really good. But I just I have a handful. I have like 20. If I see a trans athlete doing something on social media, I give them a follow, right? Even just like I love seeing your stuff come up, and I love seeing you just out in the world doing your sport, and right, like what you're talking about with football. Like it just feels good to know that we're out there doing our thing.
Wait a
Um,
minute, you see me? I'm
yes, I see
I'm
you.
flattered by that because I
Yes,
look up to you and what you're doing because
no.
that's huge. I look at what you're talking about Nikki Hiltz. How important is Nikki? Not only Nikki being in the space, but being in the upper echelon of the space.
Yeah, I mean it's very important. Like I think that in a super binary like pro track world, like having people be forced to confront a non-binary person is very important, right? And that's exactly the type of work that I see, in the marathon space too. It's this every person, whether they're queer, trans or not, is forced to acknowledge that we're here. Every time you go to click and sign up for a marathon, from Boston to London to Berlin, right? You are seeing the option non-binary pop up. You are forced to acknowledge that we're here. And every time that Nikki, wins, right? Whether literally or just by being out there, the world is forced to acknowledge that there are many of us that don't exist on this binary, that exist across it and beyond it. And I'm very grateful that I'm not the only one out there that is, doing that work in our own sort of pockets of the sport.
What could sports look like? What do you want to see sports look like, say, 10 years from now, in regards to inclusion?
Mm. It's a great question. I mean, A, obviously, first and foremost, I want everyone to feel that they have a place where they belong in sport. And that's not just, trans and non-binary people. It's also like people of color, people that are adaptive athletes, right? Like I want all people to feel like they can do it and there's a space for them to do it. That's the number one thing. And I think I want it to begin to matter less. These minor, right, like super nitty gritty, like this sex testing and this, but what is your level of this and your nanimal and it's like, I just feel like I want us to find ways to move away from the hypervigilance around, biomarkers in terms of how we think about and how we organize sports. And I want us to begin to innovate a bit more around what would it look like to have, for example, everyone whose fastest marathon time going into the New York City Marathon was somewhere between um, 2 hours and 2 hours and 10 minutes competing against each other. And that's the A division, right? And then what if it was 2:10 and 2:20, right? What if we were racing against people by our own standards of what we have historically been capable of, as opposed to um, by our genitalia, for example? Like, I think there are other creative ways that we can we can make this work. I would love for, in team sports for there to be more, for there to be, sure, you can still have men's teams and women's teams, but maybe there are also just like non-binary teams. Maybe there are teams that are, that are taken really seriously, that are co-ed teams. Like, that would be awesome. Who wouldn't want to watch that? I would love to see that.
One thing I would like to see us create sports where you can have all sorts of athletes, including adaptive athletes,
Exactly.
playing on the same field.
Yep.
And I think I think that's one thing I will say as an athlete. These are conversations that need to be had because sport is going in this direction, because society is going in this direction. I'm of the belief that more and more people that are this young generation right now is seeing gender in a different way. They see sex in a different way. They see entertainment in a different way. They see learning in a different way, and they're bound to see sports a different way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I think that is the crucible. I'm of the belief, honestly, we may need to create new games, because really think about it.
I love that.
The current sports that we play right now have been around for, in the case of some of the more traditional Olympic sports, they've been around for thousands of years.
Right.
The team sports that we revere,
Yep.
football, basketball, baseball, they've been around 50, 75, 100, 150 years. Now, and those had to have a start somewhere. And I think that the next games have to start somewhere.
I love that.
Because I don't see the same sport. I don't see us playing the same sports the same way when I'm in my 70s or 80s.
Yep. Yep. No, I love that. I think it's so true, right? Like, so much of what we do needs a huge overhaul. And I think that it's so important. I think trans people, I think trans people have a unique perspective of having experienced the world in multiple ways and having really, really good ideas and knowing how to innovate and knowing how to create new things. And I think it's really important that trans people have this space to dream and to think of these big ideas and to have these kinds of conversations and to keep pushing towards something that we don't see now, but we know is possible.
Kirsty Coventry, let's talk.
Yeah,
IOC President Coventry, let's talk.
absolutely.
But now the exit question.
Yes.
And this exit question, I'm taking you back. I got to set the Wayback Machine for the exit question.
Yes.
You remember this person?
Yes, I do.
You remember this person? Here's what this person had to say.
Hi, it's me. I'm making this video because, okay, I want you to know what I mean when I say I'm trans. Oh my god. Okay, so I'm trans. I am Cal, and you may have noticed that I changed my name on Facebook to Cal. And it used to be Callie. I feel like that's a thing that people might have noticed. I feel like I said a couple things and now people are wondering.
Crazy.
What is it like seeing that now? First, what would you tell that young person now if you could see them and say, hey, I'm you in 2025?
I would just say, you're right. You got this. You know who you are. Like, keep going. I think that, like, we deal with so much self-doubt as trans people, especially early in our transition. Am I making the right move? Like, there's so much, negative feedback from the whole world around me. Like, should I proceed with my transition? And, like, it's so scary to really be, to really commit to yourself in the way that we have to as trans people. And I'm so glad I did. Oh my God. I had no idea what unique challenges, but also what beautiful growth and possibility would emerge from making a commitment to myself and really just validating what I knew was true about myself.
I remember first time I saw that, I was like, wow.
Wild, huh?
Yeah.
Wild.
I mean, follow up to that.
Yep.
What do you think your reaction is going to be 30 years from now? You may be looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
and you got a little gray in the beard, a little bit of gray in the stash. You can still probably run a marathon under 3 hours.
Yeah, we'll
Because
see.
runners run forever.
I know. I
Runners
hope
run
so.
forever.
I hope so.
What do you hope sports looks like?
Mm.
Just go emotional on it. What do you hope it looks like when Cal Calamia is 65?
I hope that the work I'm doing right now in sport is no longer needed. I hope that I can be sort of this old dude, like, just kind of like, I hope I can be, I hope I can kind of just look down on what is happening with like so much gratitude and hope and joy and pride, and that it will be crazy to people to think of the things that trans athletes had to go through in 2025. It will feel unimaginable. That's my hope.
One thing is you've imagined a difference in sports and you've made a difference.
Thank you.
Again, congratulations on winning this. And there's something I got to take an extra minute just to say this:
Hmm.
that you have been an inspiration to me,
Thank you.
and that the work that you're doing is making sports exponentially better.
Thank you. So much.
Exponentially better. And the biggest thing I want to see is you keep speaking out. Keep talking about what matters because it's important. And again, I just look up to you because when I see you do what you're doing, that boosts me to try and make that difference in any little way I can. So, no, thank you for what you've done for a sport I enjoy because I enjoy running, but also thank you for what you're doing and speaking out.
Thank you, Karleigh. I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate the work you do too. And I'm very grateful that you exist and that we get to be connected in this lifetime. Thank you again. This is a huge honor.